Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. A news and notes catch up, a few things I didn't manage to get to in the week, but I didn't want to let pass by without comment, so a little bit of moss on a couple of items, but well worth getting into. But first we'll start with Tyson Fury, the WBC and lineal champion, who's been calling out every man and his dog. So we'll get to these clips and a few thoughts.
And while I'm on a rant, I may as well call out one more person. A big useless dosser. Not a real fighting man. A hype job. Body build. CrossFit. Big, ugly shithouse. That's Anthony Joshua. AJ, if you're out there, let's make this fight happen, you big dosser. You big shithouse bum dosser. And I'm going to smash your face in too. And there's not one thing you can do about it. Prove me wrong, sucker. Prove me wrong. I'm number one. Uno. Just been thinking, another message for AJ. AJ, if you go past 3 rounds with me, I'll quit in the corner. Because that's how confident I'm taking you cold out within the first 2-3 rounds. Out. Out like a light switch. And this is a special message to my long-haired boyfriend, Drew McIntyre, who can't stop thinking about me and can't stop talking about me. Drew, you want a good hiding? I'll give it you too. Anytime, any place, anywhere. I'm in Las Vegas at the moment. If you want to come and fight about it, or you want to come and talk about a fight, hit me up, baby. Anytime. I'll smash you like I smash your buddy Braun Strowman, but you go down even quicker because you're a lot smaller. Just grab you by the hair, smash your face off the floor, and it's all over, Drew. Let me know when you want a piece of the Furious one. This is a message to Francis Ngannou and the UFC guys. Look, if you want some of this Gypsy King money, you know where to come and find it. If you want some of this Gypsy King power, I'll give it you. Anytime, any place, anywhere, 7 days a week, and twice on a Sunday, you big ugly dosser.
So Fury there calling out Anthony Joshua, a couple of different statements for him. Drew McIntyre, the WWE wrestler, so obviously scripted television. And then you have the MMA champ Francis Ngannou. And he's actually called out the last two a couple of different times, saying that he will more than be willing to fight each guy and he wants to beat them up, etc. So clearly Tyson Fury wants to fight any fight at this point, and we are hearing though, and this is after a week of uncertainty with the undisputed fight, contracts are now apparently with the respective parties for a fight which would take place in Saudi Arabia. So it's kind of a still watch this sort of space sort of situation, but seemingly after hearing from the likes of Bob Arum that it was dead in the water, that there is some positive news. I mean, I guess, inverted commas, we'll have to sort of see what happens and where this goes. I mean, it's boxing. You can never really sort of say anything with 100% certainty. But also, Fury has taken a spray at Eddie Hearn. Hearn had criticised his wardrobe, his shirts in particular, but also Hearn had gone in on Fury after, and this followed actually some comments Fury had made about Hearn, and that Hearn had been greasing up to Canelo Alvarez and not giving Billy Joe Saunders enough attention in the build-up to the Canelo Saunders fight. So here is Tyson Fury responding to Eddie Hearn.
This is another message to Eddie the Tit Hearn. Eddie, talking about me living in the hotel in Vegas, wearing the Versace shirts. Yes, I'm absolutely guilty, Eddie. I'm over here in my 6,000 square foot hotel room and Versace every single day. You know, if you keep sucking Canelo off, you'll be able to get a couple of these shirts yourself, mate. Or if you want, I can borrow you a couple. Don't worry about it. And maybe give you a little bit of swag too. Keep sucking Canelo off. And when my boy, Billy Joe Saunders, gives him an absolute boxing lesson and knocks him out, you're going to have egg on your face, pal. You're back in the wrong horse. You're back in the Mexican over the Brit. You sausage. And as for Joseph Parker, he's now an honorary gypsy. He's no more a New Zealand man. He's an honorary gypsy. He's a part of the gang. So there you go.
Michael Hunter has been angry on Twitter this week after the WBC aired out that Hunter had missed a drug test. So as part of the being in the WBC Top 15, you have to sign up to the Clean Boxing program. So that is VADA administered, and it's anytime, anywhere. And before I get into a little bit more, I just want to sort of say that, there has been some criticism in the past that there hasn't been enough testing, that it might be one test a year or sometimes none, that it's just a little bit sort of underdone. But in terms of what Mauricio Suleiman had said, you can see here on screen, VADA testing reported 2 missed attempts of testing under the Clean Boxing program, Michael Hunter and Jesse Hart. It is of extreme importance that all fighters report to VADA any changes of whereabouts to avoid these problems, which may lead to penalties. And what we've had from Hunter in this initial sort of response and then since, it's been very defensive. So Hunter has said, "Don't play with me, Suleiman. You tested this plant-based athlete 2 times already this year. Now you want to follow me this morning on Twitter to talk this dumb shit. Since we are now friends now, where's the B sample? How do we get positive tests from tainted meat? What is a picogram?" So those references there, the B sample one to Dillian White, the tainted meat one to Canelo Alvarez. Not sure what the other bit is there about the picogram. But for me, I look at this and go, that's not a good look for Michael Hunter. And since the that sort of news came out a few days ago, if you look at Hunter's feed, it is very sort of defensive. There's retweets of other people sort of saying, this one here, VADA trying to make up for their testing inconsistency and unprofessional testing practices. Good job, VADA. And then a sort of emoji. Oh, by the way, testing collection should come to you, not the other way around. Definitely very unprofessional way, while many fake illnesses and don't get tested at all. Biased testing, ? Yeah, my sort of thoughts on this is, I don't care that Michael Hunter is a plant-based athlete. Yeah, so what? What's the difference between a meat-eater-based athlete? It's just, the thing is, the testing is anytime, anywhere. It is on the fighter to give their whereabouts. And even though we give the sanctioning bodies a lot of grief, I think that the WBC is in the right here. And we want these athletes tested. So if Michael Hunter wasn't where he said he was going to be, where, obviously they can come to him anytime, anywhere, all that sort of stuff, well, it's not a good look. And he's been very defensive and deflective. And he hasn't actually, from what I can see, explained how he didn't, have this test, that what happened for him to miss this test. If you are meant to be somewhere, you've told them this is your whereabouts, but it wasn't your whereabouts, well, that's on you. It was a bad look for a guy like Joseph Parker a couple of years ago who said he'd taken an extra couple of weeks on holiday and he was in Samoa. He missed the test and people gave him grief. So I think it's more than right for Michael Hunter to take a little bit of stick here. And I had seen another sort of retweet that someone had done that because he's going to be in an IBF eliminator, that this was some sort of form of revenge. I think the conspiracy needs to stop. If you didn't, you weren't available for the test, that's on you. Your whereabouts as the WBC has to be correct and update at all times, because it is anytime, anywhere. So we have these other cases with White and Canelo, and sure, there was some, circumstances around those different cases and headlines and controversy. But what happened to you, Michael Hunter? It doesn't look good, as someone in the comments below says, doesn't look good to deflect. And I agree with that. Anyway, moving on. So there has been an offer from Justis Huni, the Australian heavyweight champion, the young heavyweight who is looking to go to the Olympics. He wants to fight Paul Gallen. So this tweet here from Danny Weedler says, breaking, Justis Huni has made an official offer to fight Paul Gallen in June. The former Sharks skipper has knocked him back because the terms are not right. So probably what that means, not enough money. So Paul Gallen is fighting on pay-per-view in Australia for large sums of money. He probably realizes that Justis Huni is fresh, he's fast, and he's more skillful than Paul Gallen, and probably is going to, if they fight anytime soon, even now, Paul Gallen takes a loss. If Paul Gallen takes that fight, it's probably going to be in 1 to 2 years, just because he'll take it at the back end of his career, make a sort of swan song type, sail off into the sunset type payday. So I'm not expecting that fight to happen in June. Huni will face someone, and then he'll be off to the Olympics. Adam Kownacki, so he's posted to his social media, seeming his frustration at waiting, watching and sitting. So see here on screen, he says, waiting to run it again. Can we get a date? The fans are waiting. And he's posted with his fight with Robert Helenius, and Helenius scored an upset win. That was in early 2020. And there was talk of the rematch happening at the end of last year. All went quiet. I would sort of hazard a guess that this will probably be run back at some point, and possibly on pay-per-view. I mean, if you can make Andy Ruiz Jr. and Chris Arreola a pay-per-view, this probably sort of falls into that camp where you could make it a pay-per-view. So, yeah, I mean, I can sort of sympathize with Adam Kownacki, because he's just sitting around basically not knowing what's going to happen. No date. Robert Helenius, in a recent post as well, sort of expressing probably a little bit of frustration, saying that he's willing to face the winner of Ruiz and Arreola, or anyone. So, you know, PBC, after he won that fight against Kownacki, have an option on his next fight. So, also, like Kownacki, waiting, watching, wondering what is going to be happening. And I do think the pandemic has been influencing things. Obviously, no fans, that sort of throws a bit of a spanner in the works. And some of these guys, these heavyweights, get well paid. It's probably quite hard to sort of pay them the sort of money that they would want for a non-pay-per-view card. And this is part of the reason I think Arreola and Ruiz was made into a pay-per-view. Expect the same possibly with a rematch between Kownacki and Helenius. EC Boxing, they are going to go ahead, apparently, with this Mahmoud Charr and Christopher Lovejoy fight. I mean, I'll believe it when I see Lovejoy in the ring. So Don King's tried to stop this fight, claims that Lovejoy is still under contract. And I remember Lovejoy having said it was like May the 4th or May the 5th that his contract ran out with King. But ultimately, this fight was made ahead of that. So who knows what's going to happen there. But they are saying that even without Lovejoy, Charr is going to get back in the ring, and actually he needs to. But yeah, so we'll see if that goes ahead. But actually on the undercard, there is going to be the prospect Viktor Vykhryst, currently 6-0. He's going to be facing Jacek Krzysztof Piercek. And actually, this guy was meant to face Ali Aaron Demirezhin earlier this year. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. Demirezhin fought someone else. This guy's 47 years old. So he might have an 11-0 record, but yeah, this has probably got destruction written all over it. And actually, Christian Hammer is going to feature on the card as well. So this is listed on BoxRec. He's going to be facing some 7-24 journeymen. So clearly just some activity to sort of tune him up. But yeah, so Charr and Lovejoy apparently happening, but I remain doubtful. I really, really do. Lucas Browne, we'll wind up with him, and this is just part of a clip that he posted this week. So this is his thoughts and plans in terms of the next phase of his career.
Looking forward to a few more fights in the future. So something like, in the ideal world, it would be something like an Alex Leopai, then a Dempsey McKean, and then a rematch with Gallen. That would be an ideal world. Whatever happens, happens, but I'll definitely be back on the horse very soon, training better, training harder, training faster. I'm a little bit of a slow starter when it comes to a fight, and Gallen came out all guns blazing. So it did catch me a little bit cold. It did catch me many times in the back of the head, but such is life. No one said a word on the day, so nothing's ever going to happen. So I've got to live with it. It is what it is, and we're moving forward.